Hello, everybody.
Hi.
Welcome back to another Shields Live on Thursday edition. I guess the weather is a little better today, I guess. I don't know. It's Thursday. It was storming this morning, and we got sun now. But again, thanks for joining us. We greatly appreciate liking, commenting, sharing our posts. I think we really help a lot of people. All over the internet. So Jan's going to be working with the Baby Lock Vibrant, which is a really nice entry level serger. There's a lot of different sergers on the market. We've been talking about that since it is Serger Month. Some of the problems that you might find online is they're just got a little cheaper made, harder to thread, things like that. So this is a really nice entry level serger. It is on special this month for $3.99, about $100 off. As well as we're going to show you jump into the Celebrate, the Baby Lock Celebrate. Again, a really nice machine. It's a nice entry level air threader. So if you don't want to stand on your head to thread the loopers, it'll thread it for you, but still you have the ability to adjust the tension. So again, thanks for joining us, and obviously ask questions, and we'll see you next time. So Jan, take it away, and I'll be kind of in the background. Anybody needs questions answered.
Thanks, Tim.
All right. Thanks, guys. See ya.
Bye. Okay, just a second here. There he is. He's gone. So let me switch my camera over. Okay, so we're going to start with the Vibrant today. And a lot of people are very intimidated by threading mechanical style machines. And we've had problems with some of the older machines and how they thread. And you know what? This machine is very easy to thread. And it is still a mechanical machine. So yes, I have to thread my own needles and I have to thread my own loopers. But I want to show you a couple things that I love about this machine. So this one is the one that's $3.99. It's on sale this month. And it does have the tension dials, but the tension's very good on this machine, so I don't have to mess with it very much. And but I wanted to show you a couple of the things that I really love about it. So this is my favorite thing. So we're going to thread this machine so you can see how easy this is. Let me get the banner turned off here. Just a minute. And get my comments up. Okay. So my favorite thing about this machine is, traditionally sergers, we've always struggled a little bit threading the underneath part. And, then you tie it on and you pull it through. This one is so easy to do because this whole front opens up. So this is like one of my favorite things about this machine. I can open this up, okay? And then this little piece here, how we used to have to dig around under here to get to the loopers? Well, guess what? This little button right here pulls down and I can open this whole thing open, completely open. And that is like one of my favorite things because I can get down into here and I can get to the loopers. I can get to where all the threads go, and it makes it so much easier. So that's one thing. And then basically everything just kind of lays into the machine. The threads are it's very simple. There's a nice little color-coded guide here on how to thread the machine. So we're just going to go through the threading so you can kind of see, and I want you to see how easy it is. So we are going to start with the lower looper, if I can get a hold of it. So I've got my threads up here, okay, and it's got the little tower above. Put your threads over. Okay. And there's a little clip right here that is a tension. I also want to make sure that my foot is up when I am threading. So the presser lever, hi Margaret, is right over here on the left, and I'm going to make sure that is up so that all the tension units are open. Okay. So I'm going to take my thread and I'm going to slip it underneath this little guide right here. Then I'm just going to pull it down through the little tension unit, okay? Then I'm going to bring down through the slot. This is blue. So right now we're working with blue. And I'm going to slide it through this little catch right here. Okay, then I'm going to pull this camera down so you can see a little bit better. Okay. And then if you look at the little picture, there's another little catch right here that's marked blue. So it kind of comes across from here, underneath this little thing right here. Now, if you give me a second, I'm going to put my glasses on so I can see this a little bit better. Okay. And then it has another little catch right here that's marked blue. So I'm just going to slip that into that little catch. Okay, so this is where it was usually kind of hard to thread these machines because we have to get it around this looper thing here. But look, it's completely open. Now, the other thing I like to do with this machine has this little thing that sets up on the foot, and it's a little bit tall for me. So what I like to do is I'm just going to push the little button in the back here, and I'm going to drop that foot off and just get the foot out of my way while I'm threading, because then I can see and you can also see better. So here's my looper right here. There is a hook right here on the back of the looper. Okay. So I'm going to take that thread and I'm going to run it between that little hook back here like that. And it's just going to clip in there. So it clipped into a little hook. Okay. I didn't have to fish it through anything. It just goes right in there. And then all we have to do is put it through the hole in the looper. So I'm just going to move this up so that it's a little bit more exposed for me. And it's going to go through the hole. Okay, like this. Just going to put it through that. Whoops, second. Going to go through that hole maybe. So this is the hardest thing for me, is threading through the little holes. And then I'm going to grab with I always have my tweezers out because those help a lot. And I'm just going to pull that through and back like that. So see how easy that was? That is threaded the lower looper. That's usually the hard one. So look how easy that was. I came down from here. There's a little hook right here, a little hook right here, and a little hook right here, all marked blue. Okay. And then the little hook on the looper is right here, and the hole in the looper and back. So that's how easy it is to thread that to that looper. So let's do the other one. So the other one's even easier. So this one, I'm going to bring it down again. So here's my thread. I've got the little catch up here like this. Then I'm going to pull it down into the tension unit. And then I'm going to come down here. So I'll pull my camera down a little bit more. And I've got this little hook right here that the thread's going to go through. Okay. Now this one is green. So if you see, we're working with kind of a green color. Okay. Hi, Judy. And we're going to look at the green little hook. So I'm going to look at my little diagram down here, and there's a little green hook right here. Okay. And all we got to do is put it through that green hook. And then this is the looper where this upper one is the one we're threading now. So there's a little hook right here on the looper that it needs to go in, and it's just going to lay over. There's a little green dot right here too, and it just kind of lays in front of that. So I'm just going to pull this looper up so it's a little higher, and I'm just going to lay this thread into that little loop there. It just kind of slides into this little notch. Maybe if I can get it in there. It's harder when you have a camera in front of you. There we go. Okay, so it just kind of slides across this little plate up to this little notch, and then we're going to go through this looper. So everything is pretty basic. Okay, and I like to have this thread under my looper. This loop, the lower looper, the thread's going to go under the top one, and then I'm going to put this thread into the top looper, and that's all there is to the loopers. And this one's so easy to thread. Okay. So if you're looking for a nice little basic machine, this one is much easier to thread than a lot of machines. Okay. Yeah. And the Celebrate, we're going to talk about the Celebrate here in a minute, Judy. So I'll show you that one too. So this is entry-level machine day. So, but I wanted to show you how easy it is. You know, a lot of people, you know, are worried about mechanical machines and how hard they are to thread, but this one is easy. Okay. So we got all this threaded down here. All right, now we're going to do the needle. So I've still got my presser lever up. I'm going to do, now this one, I don't know if you can see it very well, but right here, this one has a separate opening for each side of the needle. So it doesn't matter which needle you thread first. So I'm going to actually thread the second needle. So I'm going to go down. This is where the tension unit is. There's no little click little like slider on the top of this one. So I'm going to come down here and I'm going to start on the right and slide it into the notch, and then I'm going to flip it over to the left and over that notch. So it just kind of flicks in there. And then I'm going to take the thread, and these are kind of like the old machines used to be with the outside tension units. You just kind of slide it up, and then there's a little ledge in there that the thread's laying on. I'm going to bring it down right here, and then I'm going to go up and over these little silver things, and then down to the needle like that, and it's going to go in that guide. Now, this is my hard part here, is threading the needles. So I have a couple ways. We can just push it through, okay? Or I like to use these little needle threaders. I do better with these. So I'm going to put this with the little arrow up, and I put the thread across it horizontally with the arrow up, and then I'm going to start up on the needle. I'm going to push in until I can feel it touch the needle, and I'm going to slide down until I get to the eye, and it goes right through. And that works better for me for threading. I don't do too well anymore with threading needles. So I like the little needle threader, or you can just thread it manually. Okay, second, I got this caught. I always get it caught on the other needle. There we go. Okay, so there's the first needle. The second needle's done the same way. So this is needle number 1. Again, there's no little catch up at the top, so we're going to come right down to here, and we're going to start on the right, flip it over the top on the left, and then we're going to go slide over to the right again and under and up and over. And you can kind of hear it click in. There's like a little click it makes when it's in there. Okay. I'm going to go down again and up and over. And now this one's going to be on the left-hand side. So this one has a separated little thread guide on it. Okay. And then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to take my little needle threader, put the arrow up, and I like to lay the thread horizontally across the needle threader like this. I'm going to lay it up on the needle, and I just barely push in. You don't want to push it at all, and I can feel that I'm touching the needle. I'm just going to slide it down until I get to the hole, and it slides it right into the hole. So that's one thing. If you have trouble like me seeing the thread needles, that's one way you can thread needles on these. Okay. And you notice I took the foot off. Since I took the foot off, it makes it so much easier because the foot has this little thing on it. It has like a little cover, which is a safety feature, but it does get a little bit in the way when I'm trying to thread the needles. So I like to take it off when I'm threading. Okay. So let's go ahead and put this on. So to put it back on, there's a little bar in here, very much like a sewing machine. I'm going to slide it in from the left. So I'm going to kind of slide it in from the left side, and then I need to get it attached to this little thing here. I'm going to put the foot down on it. Sometimes I have to get a little push, and there is our foot. So it's all back on. So this one really works better for me to remove the foot when I'm threading. Okay. So now let's talk a little bit about a couple of my other favorite things. So this machine has this really nice little seam guide on it. See, it just slides in and out so that you can adjust your seam allowance. Okay, so I find that very useful. And it also has, let's see, make sure I got everything that I need to put back in here. We're going to flip the cover shut here. And this one has dials, just like the other machines have. We've talked about some of these dials. This is the stitch length dial up here. Usually I put it somewhere around 2.5 or 3 for standard 4-thread serging. Okay. And then this little lever is going to be your differential feed. So what that means is that it's going to help you if you are doing like stretchy fabrics and so on. You would push it upwards towards the 2 to help all your stretchy fabrics from rippling. So this is cotton fabric I'm going to use today, so I'm going to leave it on the 1, which is kind of neutral. And then there's another dial over here, so it's just easier for me to flip the machine around. This dial here is the stitch width. So in other words, it's the placement of how far away it's going to cut. Okay, so I've got it set at about 5.5 or 6, which is kind of an average width. Okay, so let's see how we did here. Now, we're going to look at the tension units. So we got these tension dials up here now. Okay, these don't have auto tension like a lot of the other machines do. So don't be afraid of the tension. So what I do, I like to use the Madeira Orlock serger thread. It's very, very smooth. It's very, it's strong. It doesn't break very easily, and so I really like it. And it also runs through these machines beautifully. So, oh, and then this one also has, this is the other thing I really liked. It also has this little lint catcher on it. So we'll put that on here so you can see what it looks like. It comes, there's a little knob right in here. It goes in. And then if I can get it in there we go. And then it just slides in right here. And just kind of clicks in. So that's nice to have the little lint catcher on it. Okay. But what I like to do is I usually leave my tension dials on the number 4, which, as you can see, that's sort of like their normal setting with the dark gray sides on them. So I usually start right there to see if that is going to be, the tension is going to be good. So let's take a look here how we did. And I'm going to pull my little seam adjuster out so it'll cut off a little bit here. There we go. And then you can just put your fabric right up against the edge here. You have to come down just a little bit. Okay. Slip my fabric up in there. I've got a kind of a curl on that end. Let's flip it over. So we go in like that, okay? And then let's see how we did. See if we did okay with our threading. I'm going to try to hang on to the camera so that it won't bounce too much. And this machine sews very well. So I'm going to look at the tension now. I like to do like a little test after I thread it. And I use this thread most of the time. I very rarely have to move anything. So if you look at this stitch, this is how I learned how to adjust my tension on my serger. Okay. So the line across the top, there should be a line that meets right along the top or the cut edge of your fabric, so you can kind of see. That is the lower looper adjustment. Okay, so in this case, you want it to line up and be right along your cut edge. So this looks very nice. It's right along the cut edge. It's not going over the front or over the back. So that I think we're good. This looper is going to be all the squiggles. Okay, so the squiggles are your upper looper. So if they look funny or if they look too tight, that's where you would adjust this tension. Okay, and then the other two are easy because the inside line of stitching is this needle and the outside line is this needle. So in my case, I think everything looks pretty good right at 4. So I honestly don't change this very often. I use it on 4 most of the time, and I find that it works very well. But I do like this thread because this thread is a very consistent thread and it runs through the machine very well. So this is the Madeira Orla. Okay, so let's just try another little stitch here, and I want to show you also that you can do rolled hems on this machine very, very easily. It's quiet, just a little nice little machine, and I think it sews beautifully. This is not the greatest fabric in the world. Mine's kind of thin, but okay. So that looks very nice. So there is a 4-thread overlock. That's just our standard 4-thread overlock. Now, I would like to also show you that you can do, a rolled edge with this. And when I do that, of course, we need to take out a needle, just like we did with the other machines. I showed you a rolled edge on the Triumph, and I think on one of the machines last week, we did a rolled edge. So I'm going to open this up again, and I want to show you a couple things how to do this, and it's very easy. There's 2 things I have to do, so I'm just going to open this back up again, okay, this little door. I'm going to take out my outside needle. I just want the inside needle in to do a rolled hem. So I'm just going to grab my thread, and I'm going to trim it off, and I'm going to pull this back out. Whoops, got to put my foot up. Pull that one back out and get it out of my way. And then I'm going to grab my little screwdriver, and they give you a nice little compartment down here to put some of your tools in, which is really nice. There's some needles and stuff, and here's this little screwdriver that's for the needles. So I'm going to take the left needle out and just loosen that up like that. And they give you like a little spot to put your needle in here. So there's like a little foam piece that you can stick your needle in over here on the side, which is nice. Then you don't lose it. Okay, and then I'll put this back inside here. I always have a little trouble getting it back in. There we go. goes under the needles. Okay, so I took one of my needles out. Okay, so now, and it's all still threaded, so we're good. But in order for me to get the rolled edge, there's a little device here. Can you see this little thing sticking out right here? And it's on the door that opens up. I need to pull this out because what this is what they call a stitch finger. So it holds all those stitches open. Well, we don't want it to stay open. So I'm going to grab this out. Okay, I'm just going to grab a hold of this and pull it out. And this little unit comes out. Okay, so we need that out of the machine for a rolled hem. I'm going to go ahead and shut the door. Shut this door. Okay, and then there's one other thing we need to do a rolled hem. We're going to turn this around. I'm going to leave this on the number 1 because we're going to do non-stretchy fabric. But I need to move this dial to R for rolled hem. So I'm just going to go with, there's the letter R right there. Okay, so it means rolled hem. All right, so let's see how we did. And normally, I don't even have to change the tension on it. Most of the time, I just leave the tension on it just as it was. So let's see how it does. So we'll lay this in here. Put my foot down, and now this is not going to sew very fast because it's very, very short stitch. Now, what did it take me? About 5 minutes or less to set that up. So it was very fast. And often when I do a rolled edge, I often do use like a woolly nylon thread, something like that. Madeira has their own version of it. That's a flocked thread, and it makes it a little bit more, it's softer. It's a little softer on the edge, and it's also a little fluffy, so it's a little more decorative. This is just a regular thread, but I think it makes a nice rolled hem. Okay, now I wanted to show you another favorite thing about this machine. All right, see this little button right here? For the longest time, I was like, what is that thing? Well, you know what? If you push it down, it pops this little cutter up in the back, and you pull it down, and then there's your thread cutter on the back. So you just pull that little button down, and it pops this little thread cutter up in the back. And I just think that's so cool. Some sergers don't have thread cutters on them. Most of the baby locks do, but some don't. But this one has one back here, and you just use this little button to open it up. So I thought that was cool. So there's our rolled hem. So what do you think? Wasn't that easy to get that all set up? We just took a needle out, turned it to R, and I never even touched the tension, did I? Okay, so that I just wanted to show you, this is an easy mechanical machine that's very reasonable, that does a very nice job of serging and doing rolled hemming, and you can do other stitches, of course, on it. But I just wanted to show you how easy it was to set it up and to thread it. And in 20 minutes, we have done 2 stitches. We threaded the machine, so it was pretty easy. Okay, so if you give me a second here. So this is the entry level. So this one's $3.99 on sale this month of April. Okay, and the next one up from this is going to get you back into the air threading machines. However, it doesn't have the auto tension. So this one is called the Celebrate, and it has regular tension dials. So, and if you give me just a second, I'm going to put some of these things in here so I won't lose any of my parts. First, I'm going to throw them on the floor, though. Okay. And I'm going to move this one out of the way because, of course, this is the only machine that has a different foot controller. So I have to move it out of the way for the other machine. So I'm going to pull up the Celebrate here, and I want to show you this one. Now, the Celebrate, Tim, correct me if I'm wrong. I think you said it was $9.99 on sale this month, correct? Hopefully that's correct. I'm going to grab my Celebrate here. Give me just a second. I'm going to raise my camera a minute so I can reach it. And this one is going to give us the air threading again. Okay. Get the other foot controller out of my way so I know which one I'm to press down. Okay. So we talked a little bit about the Victory last week. And so the difference between this one and the Victory is this one has the standard tension dials on the front, just like the Vibrant that I just showed you. But this one's going to give you that air threading. on it. And this is such a nice little machine. So this is a wonderful entry-level machine if you're wanting something but not to spend as much money, or if you're just wanting to give it a try. And this one, we're gonna do our air threading again. So I am going to, there's a little button here. Okay, I'm going to push this in with my finger, and I'm going to turn the hand wheel towards me, and then these little the little air tubes will pop out. If I want to retract the air tubes, I press this little this little flat silver piece, and it pulls the tubes back. Okay, so that's how I get my tube. So we need the tubes to be out so we can use the air. Okay. Then I'm going to thread the lower looper first, which is this one here. And I'm going to use, this one has the little bellows like the other one. Okay. So this one, I need to do this lower looper first. So I'm going to push the little button to the right so that I can use this looper, this little port, I should say. And then this one also has, I need to make sure my foot is up. So the presser lever is over here on the left again. I need to make sure that my foot is up. And this one has a little tension unit right here. So we're going to put the thread into that. Okay. Then slide down through the slot like this. And then there's a little catch right here where this is going to go. All right. All down here. Okay. Then I'm going to pull this down to my knee again to give me some, a little bit of slack. Let's see if I can get just a little closer so you can see the holes a little better. Okay. So then here's my port that I'm going to use. I might need to trim this off just a second. It's better if you have a nice crisp end. So have some scissors handy when you're doing this. Okay. When I have some slack, and then I'm going to slide the end of this thread into that hole, about a ½ inch or so. And then I'm going to push down with just a little bit of, you don't have to do it hard, but just quickly. Okay, so I'm going to give it a little oomph, and it just pops right on through. Just see it come right through. Here it is. Okay, so this is going to be like the victory. So it's very nice to have that air threading. And then I'm going to do the second looper, which is going to go down through here. So I'm going to bring my thread down, put it through the little click right here. Okay. The little, and then through the little notch right here. Okay. And then we're going to do the same thing with this. I'm going to trim off my end so that I have a nice end. And I'm going to, now I need to be using this port. So I'm going to push the little button over to that port. Bring it down. Just get a little bit of slack. I always kind of bring it down to my knee. And then I'm going to push the end of that into that port, and hopefully I won't pull it out. Okay, and then we're going to do the same thing. Just give it a little oomph like that, and it has to be kind of a quick little push, not real slowly, because there's like a little bellows in there that poofs the thread through the looper. Okay, so I've got the other end here. Give me just a second. I got my cord tied around here. I just like to get my threads back out of the way, so I kind of stick them through the center, out of the way. Okay. Now this one, though, is going to give you a needle threader, so it really helps me. So I don't have to use, I love this little needle threader. I use it all the time, so it's very, very handy, okay? But we're going to go ahead and thread our needles. Now this one, I like to look at my little thread guides to help me know how to thread the needle. This one is open only on the left, so I'm going to do the inside needle, the right hand needle, or the needle 2 first, and then needle 1, because then it'll slide into the notch and I won't have to try to, move the threads back and forth. Okay, so we're going to do needle 2 first. Again, it has a little notch up here. So there's a little notch up here we're going to put it through. Presser lever is up. Then I'm going to come down, straight down, and the little tension discs are in these little slots right here. And then I'm going to go down underneath this little silver ledge and kind of under this one too, maybe. And then it's going to kind of go up over the top of this little white thing and down. Okay, just like that. So it's just kind of under, up, and over. Okay, and then we're going to go down into the thread guide. All right. So now I'm going to put my foot down for my needle threader. And we have to do something on this machine, just like we did on the Imagine. So I'm going to turn this so you can see. See how there's little green lines over here? There's a green line on the machine and a green line on the hand wheel. So what I have to do now in order to thread my needle is I am going to release my tubes. Okay, so these little air tubes, I'm going to release those by pulling that back. And now you can see the thread down in there. Okay, and I'm going to turn my hand wheel until the little green lines meet. And that way we know that the needles are in the proper position for the needle threader. So this one has a needle threader on it. I've got my foot down just to get it out of my way for my needle threader. Okay. And this is going to be just like the one on the Imagine. So we're going to have the little dial here. We're going to move this over to the right because it's the inside needle I'm going to do. Okay. And then I'm going to pull this down, the little handle down. And I'm going to slide this under. Whoops, maybe. Second here, I got to put my glasses back on. I always have trouble just seeing that little section. All right. Then I'm going to slide under the little fingers that are sticking out. And there's a little hook that goes through the eye of the needle. And I'm just going to flick it back. And it just takes the thread right with it. So it's pretty awesome to have a needle threader. Okay. So we got the first one done. That one's all threaded. Okay. So now we want to do the other one. So in order to thread, remember we have to have our foot up. So I'm going to put the foot up. We're going to go up to the first needle right here and through the little guide. Second, I've got kind of a knot here. Down through here. We're going to go through the slot. Okay. Then this one, we just need to go through under this little silver one. So they'll both be underneath one. Okay. And up and over, just like we did before. Again, I'm going to go down here. And I am going to put my foot down just to get it out of the way while I'm threading. We already know the hand wheel's where we need it to be. I'm going to slide this in the thread guide. Okay. I'm going to push this down. Whoops. Remember, we have to do this part. So this part, we want the left one. So it was going to try to thread the right hand again. We're going to go back to the left. So I have to click the little button over to the left. Now when it comes down, it'll come down on my left needle. Okay. And I'm just going to slide the thread under the little fingers. I usually kind of use my thumb to help me do that. Like that. And it's caught. And I'm just going to flick this up with my finger. And sometimes this one wants to catch. So if I jiggle it a little bit, it'll come off. And then we're just going to pull that thread back. Maybe. Second, I got to get my tweezers. I always have tweezers around when I'm doing like needles and stuff, because then I can grab a hold of things. There we go. Okay, we got it. All right. So let's see how we did with this. Now this one's going to have the dials like the other machines do. So it has slightly different dials. Okay. So remember we talked about the Wii dial. This is the width. So this is the width of where it's going to cut. So right now it's kind of in the middle on medium, which is a good width. Okay. And then the large dial is the length. So I usually have, for a 4-thread overlock, kind of have it set on 3. Okay, so it's about on 3. This little button here is for your blade. So if you want to lower your blade, it's going to say lock. If it does not say anything on it, that means that the blade is in the upright position. So this is like the rest of those machines we've looked at. Okay. I'm going to close my covers, and we'll talk about one other dial. I think everything's ready. We're going to talk a little bit about this dial here. So this is the differential feed. On the other machine, it was like over here. Or actually, yeah, it was over here. But this one has a little thing in the front here, and you want it to be on neutral or N. So that's sort of like 1. Okay. So that way we're going to be working on cotton fabric. All right. So let's talk about the tension now. Okay. So here's our tension dials. And again, with this machine, especially if I'm using the Orlock Madeira thread, Serger thread, this is good, solid sturdy thread and it's very smooth. And so I normally can put this machine on the number 4 on all 4 of these dials, and it will sew very well. So let's see how we do here and if we need to adjust anything. Oops, second here, I got to find some thread or some fabric. Okay. Now this one does not have the little guide on here like the other one did. It does have a needle thread, or it does have a thread cutter on the side though. Oops, if I can get a hold of it. Okay. Put my foot down. All right, so let's see how, and then this is the guide. There's actually a little guide right here. I don't know if you can see it, but it has the little lines on it. And so your 5/8 inch seam is right like where the R is. So let's say we're making a garment and we want it to be 5/8. So I need to put the edge of my fabric along the R because both of the needles are in. And let's see how we did. Hopefully the camera's not bouncing too bad. So let's look at our tension. Okay, so then I'll look at my tension and I can see that everything looks pretty good. They're meeting on the top of the fabric is where I want them to meet, and the little squiggles, so that is going to be this tension dial. Okay, so if everything's meeting on the top and not folding to the back or to the front, that's where you want it, and that looks pretty good. Okay, and then the squiggles, that's my technical term, is going to be the upper looper. So then I look at this and they look pretty good. They look nice and even. Okay, so I think we're good. And then, of course, when we sew, the inside needle is this needle and the outside needle is this needle. So then you can look at your stitches and say, well, that looks pretty good. Okay, so I'm actually pretty happy with that. These machines are very quiet too. So this has been, these are 2 wonderful, wonderful entry-level machines. That this one gets you into the air threader, and the Vibrant you still have to thread it manually. But I think for the money, they're both, especially right now. I mean, my gosh, they have them on such a good sale right now. So the Vibrant through the month of April is $3.99, and the Celebrate is $9.99. So hopefully this gives you a little idea of the entry-level machines. You can get into a very, very nice air threading machine for not tons of money. This is a really nice little machine. And then if you want to get up into auto tension, that would be for $500 more. That's the Victory. And that one is awesome because then you don't have to worry about the tension dials if you're worried about them. But you can see I never even touched them. All I did was thread the machine. So both of these machines sew very well, and I really don't have much tension problems with them. There's other decorative stitches that you can do with both machines. You can do flat locking, you can do rolled edge, you can do 3-thread. I often piece with this machine by taking off one of my needles, and then I use a 3-thread overlock for my piecing, just like I showed you on, I think I showed you that on the Victory last week. So, but those are the things that I do, so often. Those are my main stitches that I use on my machine. This one also has a nice little compartment on it, so you can put your tools in here. So see, here's your tools, and has like your tweezers and your little screwdriver and everything are in here, and that is underneath the two of the spools of thread here on the side. Okay, and then the Vibrant had them in the door. Okay. All right, so we have had Serger Month. So hopefully this helped you with some of the machines to see what they look like, what they can do. Obviously, when you go up to the Triumph, you get both a serger and a cover stitch. Last week we showed you a separate machine that's a serger, but then also you can get a cover stitch by itself. And then these machines are just 4-thread sergers, and they're mechanical and one with an air threader. So hopefully this helped you out with learning a little bit about sergers. And I'm just going to put the camera up so I can say goodbye to everybody. And are there any other questions? So let's got to find the right camera here. Just a minute. Okay. So are there any other questions about the Sergers? I see a couple of you came in late and you were going to watch the beginning of it. You missed the beginning of it. So, but the Celebrate's such a wonderful little machine, and the Vibrant has just been a really nice little workhorse machine. It just sews real well, and it's easy to thread. You know, we've all been intimidated by Sergers for many years, and when I opened this up the first time and threaded it, it was really neat because it's so simple. So, but that way, you all have a chance to see all the different Sergers we've got in the store. These are all available in both of our stores. And you can also look at them on our website. And if you have any questions, give us a call, text us, through Facebook or through or email us here at the store. So thank you very much. And I will be seeing you. Now, next week, we're not going to have a class. Next week, we're going to take 1 week off a month. So next week is the week off. So we won't have class next week at 2:00, but we will have then the first week in May. Okay. So if you have any suggestions of things you're interested in seeing, let us know. And I will be happy to see what we can do about that. And in May, I haven't decided what we're going to do yet. So April was Serger Month. So I'm not sure what we're going to do in May yet. So, all right. Thanks, everybody. Have a good afternoon. And we'll be seeing you in a couple of weeks. Thanks.